Hello and welcome to episode 52 of Crucible Bootcamp. I'm your host, Keen Koala, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Rumble match on Exodus Blue, featuring a friend of mine, Zia Johan. He's playing a Night Stalker and using a hand cannon shotgun loadout. So this is after the patch with the changes to secondary ammo. So there's going to be some new tips when it comes to playing Rumble in the meta today. As well as how to play better in the air and what a good defensive bait looks like and why that's important moving forward to succeed in today's meta. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. All right. So again, if you've watched some of the other videos that I've had on Exodus Blue is a really good map for controlling zones. It's also small enough that it's very easy to run back and forth on either side of the map, so you can kind of control whichever side that you want. So keep in mind that when you do spawn into the game, when you start off, you always have special ammo. So this is kind of the default on how the meta used to be, is what the game always starts off as. So you want to be aware of sniper lanes, you want to be aware of picking your choke points very carefully, because you still can get pushed very hard with shotguns. They are still very good in those very extreme close quarters distances. So you need to be very aware of what's going on in that beginning of the game. After those first deaths start rolling out, then you want to focus on a more primary centric style where you're really playing for space and engaging on your terms. It's really important, based on which primary you have, that you engage on your terms. And so there are a couple ways that we can do this. So the first way is to use our radar to bait opponents into our range. And the second way is to use verticality. And Bungie buffed all the inner accuracy of weapons. Now it still isn't perfect inner accuracy. You're not going to have pinpoint shots when you're in the air. But it's still a lot better, which gives you more options in how to approach someone. So he's going to have a push here, and you're going to see he's just searching for target, got a tag on someone. And you see on radar here, you can see he's going to be right around this corner here. So now that he has his shotgun out, we're going to start this back up. Now that he has a shotgun out here, he's basically created a situation where he's going to try to bait his opponent into him. So what you want your opponent to do is come this way, right? They're going to come blind, right? They can't see you behind this pillar. They're going to come blind around this around the cinder block, and you're going to be able to counter shotgun into them. And they're going to do all the work for you. You don't have to move from this position. They know where you are, right? You're standing up on radar. You can see them, they can see you. And so what the opponent needs to do is wait out the bait, right? Because unless you're running a shotgun yourself. If you're running a shotgun yourself, then this push here can be lethal, right? You can challenge this if you have a shotgun. If you don't have a shotgun, if you're a sniper or maybe you're running a sidearm, you really want to make sure that this space you stay out of. Because as soon as you get into that space, you're in a good shotgun engagement where he's just going to come and he's going to kill you. Hello, kitty. So instead, what you want to focus on doing is waiting out this bait if you're the opponent. Now, if you're the player, your bait is really going to be predicated on, well, does my opponent take it, right? Does he take the bait? Does he push around this corner and do all the work for me? And this is what you want to do with shotguns now, because the risk of you losing all your ammo, right, for one kill, you have 7 shots here. So this is potentially worth 7 kills. And we all know after playing Rumble for plenty of time, if you're familiar with the playlist, that it's pretty easy to get a lot of back-to-back-to-back shotgun kills, because it's relatively simple to get into that close range. So you can see he waits, and as soon as his opponent pushes back, he was prepared for him, and then he slides forward, right? So let's back that up just a hair. So he's going to wait here. His opponent sees him, and now, because his opponent decides that he's going to come here, in this location, he's well within the slide distance, right? You can cover this distance here with a slide. He's going to be outside of 1 hit range, but the slide forward, this direction, basically guarantees that he's going to get a 1 hit, which is exactly what happens. So this is how you need to be using your shotgun moving forward. If you don't use a shotgun, that is another example of how you want to bait someone with a sticky. So if you run flux, magnetic, fusion grenade, that's how you want to bait them into an easy kill, where it's very simple for them to push around outside of their cover into the open, and you would potentially get into a primary battle normally. But if you're trying to bait them into a sticky battle, it's important to keep in mind that the effective range of your sticky is close medium range, so about 20 meters. So if you're used to that range with your hand cannon, then that's where you want to go to throw your sticky. Something that I'll do is I'll bait people into primary engagements. So I'll actually fire one shot and get them prepped to think that they're going to continue to get into a primary engagement. And instead, because now I know that all they're going to be doing is strafing in place, I'm just going to stick them and then Twilight Garrison away. Or in Zia's case, you can shade step away after like smoking them. Or if you're playing Blade Dancer, you could potentially blink away or just slide or jump into cover. You have a lot of options as long as you're close to your piece of cover to just get away with sticking someone with no real intention of actually getting into a primary battle. And that's how sticky should be used. They're a very good offensive bait tool, right? You offensively push into an engagement and then just throw your sticky. So you see someone went invisible, he's going to throw pre-smoke, he's going to chase. So this chase is okay because again we have a shotgun, but we stop a little too soon, because the issue that I found here with this engagement is that although it's good to push when our opponent is weak, we don't want to give them an opportunity to get their health back. And we know exactly where they are, right? There's nowhere for our opponent really to go. So on radar, we can see that he's going to be in this general location over here, right? And so we have a very clear path of just sliding in and dealing with that opponent. If our opponent is at the bottom of the stairs for whatever reason, when we're inside at this position, we can just take out our primary and then attack that angle, right? We don't necessarily have to shotgun, and we do still have a grenade, so we can protect ourselves from any push pretty easily. You have to be confident. When you have a health advantage, you need to take advantage of that. So the bait here was okay, but we let our opponent get a shot, and then our shade step was way too late. Like, we should have been shade stepping as that person was sliding into us. Don't walk through smoke that isn't yours. If an opponent shows up at any time during this engagement, Kit Kat, come on, man, then you're probably dead. Because you don't really have any great cover here. You're in the open, you're exposed. If you're in on slope stairs here. So right now we're here. And we have no great cover, right? Our escape route is in the open to go back, and it goes out into an open area here. So if you see smoke like that, just go around it or just wait it out. Hide behind a block. Like, you have lots of options for you to do something. All right. So in Rumble, now with the special changes, let's say we get died here for whatever reason. It's really important in Rumble now that you control the areas with special boxes. If you want to use your special, or you roam around those special boxes, because the vast majority of the game is going to be played around these power positions here. So it's even more important that you keep your engagements central around these areas, because if you don't, then if someone grabs these power weapons, they start loading up their snipers or their shotguns, you're gonna fall behind. Even if you're playing against sidearms, as soon as sidearms start getting more and more ammo, because they beat primaries in a primary centric meta, you start falling behind very quickly because you can't kill as fast as those weapons can. And you want to either control the ability for your opponent to pick those up, or you just want to take advantage of that yourself. So before, when I would say that there's two main styles. There's the zone control, and then there's roaming or rotations. Rotations isn't as effective as it used to be, because if you rotate all the way around the map, at any given point, you might not be able to contest one of these special boxes, giving yourself a much harder time of playing catch-up. If you're behind and you're not controlling special boxes, you tend to fall further and further behind. If you're ahead and you can pick up those special boxes, you can get further ahead, because then you're going to start snowballing into supers, which are going to be even more free kills, which means you can control more green boxes, which means you can go on more killing sprees, and then it just gets completely out of control. When the meta started and I started up a couple of Rumble matches, it was pretty routine of me to win before my enemy opponents had gotten up to 1,200 points. Like, I'm at 2,500, my opponents are at 1,200. And all I did, really, was control these boxes because people weren't prepared to be so special starved. Now, nowadays, that might be a little different. There's a lot more sidearms in play now. But sidearms aren't necessarily oppressive, right? Sidearms are still based on space. And so, if you put yourself at a space where you outrange them, you want to drop the time to kill down to below your primary. And so what that means is you have to be at a pretty far out range. So with hand cannons, you want to be close to that maximum distance, so that 27-ish meter range. You want to be close there, and you don't want to push into these sidearms, because the sidearm time to kill with all body shots is about 0.7 seconds. And the time to kill with your primary weapon, even with the best primary weapons, is going to be 0.8 seconds. So you're going to lose the vast majority of the time, even accounting for latency. Not to mention any shots you miss. So it's very important that when you do control these things, that you really focus on space. You don't push into players anymore. Or if you do push into players, have something to lower your time to kill, whether it be a grenade or a melee. So like if you're a Titan and you're a striker, you're still going to one body and punch someone and kill them faster than they're going to sidearm you, if you can manage to not take damage in that range. Other things like you can bring a grenade, you can bring tickle fingers. There's a lot of things that you can make up for the fact that your primary isn't going to kill as fast as their sidearm. And sidearms still have the very glaring weakness that they do lose to a lot of other secondary weapons. They're really only good against other primary weapons. Shotguns, snipers, fusions, they all beat sidearms. That's just a fact. They beat them. If you land the shots that you need to, you'll win. So here, Zia has kind of a silly push. You don't want to, as soon as you take damage and you haven't fired back, as a Night Stalker especially, you want to just shade step away, right? You just want to leave either of those directions. What you don't want to do is push straight forward, right? You don't want to do this. This is bad. You don't want to do this. So this is way too late, right? Because your opponent can just throw smoke right here. They don't even need to hit you because this smoke has an AoE, right? And you're gonna get hit by it in this location, and you're gonna die. And if they throw a spike grenade on the wall here, that's gonna kill you. If they throw a spike grenade here on the train car, that's gonna kill you. If they bounce any kind of incendiary grenade or trip mine, this is a really, really awful spot that you have yourself in. And you just had to use your shade step to get out of the way. So you have no opportunity to survive here. What you have to do in this situation is you have to bait your opponent into pushing you. This is your only option. You have to stay in this spot and time it properly so you can slide out and challenge the right direction, so you have a 50-50 on guessing which way they go. I guess it's more of you have a 1 in 3 chance, because if you guess right but they don't move, you're dead, right? If they stay back here and just wait you out, then you're going to be outside of shotgun range in this after the slide out. But this is going to be your best option, is just choose a side and aggressively push into that player, because you messed up, you real bad. So he kind of waffles and then he pushes when it's way too late. It would have been better in this particular instance. So let's start talking about verticality. Verticality is a way to throw off your opponent's aim and give yourself an opportunity to kill them very quickly. So if we rewind this just a couple of seconds here. So here we have not seen our opponent, and our opponent, we can see here that he's grenaded our other option, right? We can no longer go down the slope. And so because he knows, all right, he's not going to walk down my grenade, he has a 50-50 that he basically just, oh, I'm just going to walk out and kill him because I know he's absolute, right? We have no health. So here, what you need to do is either jump first or shade step first. You need to shade step forward or you need to shade step at an angle. And then after that, you need to jump in the air. Your body needs to be somewhere up here. And you need to be looking down on your opponent with your shotgun. Now, I know that they nerfed in-air accuracy with shotguns, but the way you circumvent that is by being in melee range. So if you're in melee range, by the time you fire, you don't need to hit all your pellets, and you likely won't hit all your pellets anymore because of the inaccuracy of the cone in the air. But what you will do is you'll make sure that you can follow up melee. So all you need to hit are 4 pellets because it's 23 damage on a Matador. So that's 92. And if you add that to your 122 melee, which is uncharged, so you don't need to charge melee for this to work, that equals, we can do the basic math, 100 and 214 damage. Okay, so this is more health than any Guardian has in the game anymore. Even 13 armor, because they nerfed it. You will kill someone doing this, right? 4 pellets and a melee. That's it. And you did that by jumping in the air and coming down on your opponent. What you don't want to do is push straight forward for free, knowing that you're absolute, right? You have no options here. Your option is you got to make a big play. It's not you got to do the obvious thing and stand here and play Duck Hunt, all right? That's not what you want to do. So I'm glad that you died here, because you shouldn't have survived. If you would have survived there, I would have been really disappointed. And you get the hot bag. I don't know what that bag was for. It's not like that guy made an amazing play. He won a coin flip, but, you know, it's neither here nor there. All right, so now that you've taken you've gotten a headshot, and he's, you know, gotten a couple of shots on you, you have, in this scenario where you're outside of effective range, right? We hit for 69 there. That's less, you know, substantially less than the 86 we need to be hitting with our headshots. You really need to disengage from this engagement, or you need to figure out how to push through cover in order to get into that range where you can hit another 86 and another body shot to follow up and finish someone off. And you're not even guaranteed to finish off your opponent if you do that, because if we go this direction through cover and then we engage someone this way, right, in the A field, we're not even guaranteed to get that 2-tap, because if they're a Warlock, then they're going to already be recovering by the time we get there. Maybe not even necessarily if they're a Warlock if we take an extra long time to make a decision. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to actually disengage. So our opponent is here in Alpha Field, and we're here in Train. So we can choose one of two things. We know our opponent's running an auto rifle, so this escape here through Train, either the top train lane or underneath, is completely safe. We can do that. If we move forward, then we run the risk of our opponent cutting us off here. And this escape route is dangerous, right? To go down through 8 stairs. So if we just disengage, we can go find a new engagement. We can get our health back. And this is the option that I would take, and the option that I see not enough players take. As soon as you see someone, they just get blood in their eyes, and they get that Viking bloodlust, and they just got to scream and charge right at them. You don't want to do that, because you didn't put yourself in a good position to make up for the fact that you can't follow up that shot. Like, you didn't commit immediately. So this push around here is now very suspect. Like, I don't think you should have survived there, and especially starting that with half health. Like, I think that was just your opponent not really respecting the option that you had. But against a better player, they would have been prepared for you to take the obvious route, right? This is the obvious play. They see you go this direction in trains, and they're in this position. So the obvious thing is not to push straight at you. The obvious thing, well, this is the dumb thing, right? The dumb thing is to push straight at you. The obvious thing is for you to push around train and attack from cinder block. So what you want to do is what you can do instead, and this will throw off a lot of players, is you can feint. So you can move a little bit, get your health back, and then attack from the same angle, right? You're gonna do a, it's just a feint. You're gonna fake like you're gonna attack this way, and you're actually gonna attack the dumb way, but it's not no longer dumb necessarily because your opponent might not be expecting that. They saw you go towards train, they expect you to go from train, now you're attacking from the same spot you were before. That's just the mind game that you play with your opponent. And sometimes that will work, and other times your opponent won't realize like this is the way you will obviously go. So they'll be like, oh, he's just going to do the dumb thing, and they'll attack you anyway. So there are levels to your decisions. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but you just got to pick the one that you think will result in a win, right? Sometimes it's going to be wrong, but if you don't make any decision, it can be worse. Staying still is the worst decision you can make because you put the onus on your opponent. Your opponent gets to do whatever they want and you have to react to them. You don't want to play like that. You want to play like the game is in your hands and you're playing at your pace. So if you want to play really, really fast and aggressive, play really, really fast and aggressive. Get in your opponent's face. Force them to hit their shots or die. Like that's why if you watch a lot of top tier players, they'll just push into players because they know that either they're going to hit their shots and win or their opponent is going to punish them at some point during their push. And if they don't punish them, they know that they're just going to win outright. So they take their gun skill, and they combine it with position, and then they put it in their enemy's face and say, you need to stop me or I'm going to do this to you the entire game. And that's what ends up happening is either they get away with it, and then they get away with it for the rest of the game, either because of a lack of respect for their opponent, or their opponent just can't hit shots. Or they get punished for it, and they have to switch up and adapt to whatever their opponent is doing, and then try to regain that momentum back, and try to. So it's a very like seesaw, like ocean wave type of play, where sometimes you're crashing over your opponent, and sometimes you're receding back into the sea. Either one of those, that's kind of how the game ends up playing out. All right. I don't know what that smoke was for. I know that there was someone invisible and you're trying to protect yourself, but I would just shade step back instead of trying to, I guess, trying to protect yourself here. Like, so you hear someone go invis, so the shade step here is okay, but you're in a really poor position. Like, I don't know why your opponent's ankles got broken by that, but I guess I'll take it. So here, this play here, I wanted to point out because this is a very winnable engagement. This is one of those times where you don't want to get off the ground. So you have a couple options with the slide in. So we recall in that earlier engagement where I said you need to chase down someone that's weak. Well, our opponent is doing that to us right now, right? They're going to slide in and they're going to attack us this direction. This is the exact maneuver that we should have made earlier when we had shotgun ammo. Now that this is happening to us, what you don't want to do is get your feet off the ground, because as soon as you get your feet off the ground, your accuracy becomes suspect, but most importantly, it's really hard to aim in the air. Even with a lot of practice, you have to account for moving up, moving down, and then also any movements that your opponent makes side to side, you have to adjust in a diagonal manner because you're in the air moving whichever direction you are. So it becomes an issue when you get off the ground because it gives your opponent an opportunity to slide into you. So in this position, we have him dead to rights, right? We're backed up far enough. We have enough time to continue to backpedal, hit him in the head, and then hit him twice in the body as we back up, right? Or instead, we can hit him in the head, we can shade step backwards, we can jump up into the air, and then we can melee him. This is the good way that you would use verticality. But what you don't want to do is what Zia does, and that's just jump straight up into the air because you're scared. Like, you jumped up right in front of a shotgunner, and that isn't going to give you enough time to stop from being shotgun meleeed. If you had shade step back, at the very least you'd have broken aim assist, so it would have been harder to melee you, it would have been harder to hit you, and if you shade step even at an angle, you're likely going to throw off his aim. So you need to give yourself a good opportunity to win. Sometimes just backpedaling isn't enough, especially if you're just going to... it looks like you're just trying to run away. when you had first shot, right? Even though you were weak, you had first shot. So you had an opportunity to trade, and I would have taken a trade every day, because you're taking that special away from them now. It's more important to trade with shotgunners now than it ever was before, because you take that ability away from them to start chaining kills one after the other after the other. If you take that ability away, then you can start keeping up with them. But if you don't, and you let them get that one shotgun kill, this is when rumbles start to snowball out of control, because they're going to turn that into another shotgun kill, they're going to turn that one into a super kill, they're going to grab some more special, they're going to start running over the lobby. And that's an extreme example. That isn't going to happen every time, but it's on you. If you lost that initial engagement, if you lost the ability to trade with that person, then that person goes roughshod over the rest of the lobby, you had an opportunity to stop that. And if you're in Rumble and you're not practicing your shot, but you're trying to win, that's what you have to do. You need to play risky. You need to make more aggressive plays in Rumble and try to trade. It's not Trials where it's bad to trade most times. Sometimes it's okay to trade, but most times you don't want to trade. You just want to outright win. Rumble isn't like that. Rumble is about time between engagements. You want as little time between engagements with as much health as you can, and you just want to chain them one after the other, because the longer the game goes, the harder it becomes for you to win. Because you give your opponent the ability to use all these catch-up methods, whether it be killing the guy that's in first place, or getting a lot of super kill chains, or just going off with a secondary ammo. If you limit their ability to pick up that ammo, and you limit the time that the match actually takes, you don't give them any opportunity to come back. So be more aggressive. Even if you don't like being aggressive, you're not going to win a Rumble match unless you are aggressive. You can't sit in the back of a map and just win. That's not how Rumble works. Because the guy that plays super aggressive, that goes 21-30, will still end up beating you, even though you went 12-2, because you didn't get into enough engagements. Trying to back up a little bit. All right, again, we need to keep in mind when we're pushing these engagements how our primary works. So we have a hand cannon, which means we need close mid to medium range engagements. We don't want to be in close engagements with a hand cannon unless we can follow up with a grenade or melee or prep our opponent, let's say with a smoke. What you don't want to do is go into choke points where it becomes very easy for an enemy to come around the corner and then break that ability to go into that close medium to medium range. What we want to do in primary engagements is completely avoid these choke points. You don't want to go in those choke points if you know that your opponent has special, or you don't know where the engagement is likely to occur. So if someone is coming up tube, you have a better shot at coming into the corner of C and getting an angle here, which is that close mid to mid-range distance, over going into closet, and then getting slid onto by a shotgunner, right? Even if our opponent didn't have shotgun ammo, this still isn't a great angle to attack someone in with a hand cannon, unless you immediately follow up melee after a headshot. Like, the closer you are to the opponent, the more important it is for you to follow up melee and to be in that melee range, because you aren't going to have the luxury of time, especially against a sidearm now. If everyone in your lobby is running sidearms, you're never going to win this engagement in this range. If someone is here and you're in closet and it's your hand cannon against their sidearm and they're at least competent with their sidearm, you're going to lose. They can miss an entire bullet and still beat your primary. That's a big deal. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it is, because they don't have to hit perfect shots. You have to hit perfect shots in order to win this engagement. So if you think you can get those perfect shots off, by all means, go into closet, outplay your opponent. But a smart player will take that range and use it against that sidearmer, because this sidearm player needs to hit probably 8 shots to kill you in a mag that was likely going to have 15, right? 12 to 18, somewhere in there. You only need to hit 3 shots. You know how easy it is to hit 3 shots at this range against a gun that isn't going to flinch you very much because they're not doing any damage to you? This is how you want to focus now in this current meta. Again, if you play against a lot of sidearms, this is what you want to focus on. This range here. You always want to be in this range. Because if you don't, and you start pushing these players like you would before. Oh, it's a primary meta. It's cool. I can go into shotgun range now. You can't, because sidearms will destroy you in this range. The same range, and in fact, it's a little extended, probably out to 15 or 18 meters, depending on how many headshots they're capable of hitting. That is twice the range of a shotgun. You have to be more careful in twice the range of a shotgun than you do before in the old meta, where shotgunners could just close the gap and no one wanted to run a sidearm because you would just get bodied way too quickly. Now, you get that opportunity to have time to set up this space and time to get shots off on your opponent, and they're not going to follow up with just a shotgun melee. Like, you're not going to get tickle fingered in this range anymore because their shotgun is going to miss half their shots because they're probably surfing through the air. So, again, create these spaces where your primary shines, right? Pick good spots on a map, and there are these spots on every map. And if for whatever reason, like, oh, my opponent is just in warehouse and he just keeps beating me in this one location because I push into closet, well, just don't go to closet, right? Just go on to C. And if you die on C because the person is smart and they're just going to push onto you as you come around this corner and they're going to close the gap themselves, then you just want to avoid this area altogether, right? You don't want to go here anymore. And that's okay. It's okay to avoid an area on the map if it means that you can't adequately challenge your opponents. I think a lot of players forget that it's okay not to do something, right? If you're a sniper, then you don't want to ever go to closet. Maybe you'll go to C once and hope that they don't push this corner here to get into a primary battle with you. But most of the times, a sniper won't be in here. A sniper will be on train car here, looking down mid lane. A sniper will be here on box, looking up tube. The sniper will be on tube, looking down into field. These are areas where you want to go to, right? This is a good sniper spot. But as a sniper, you don't want to go to slope stairs because you're going to get pushed here. You're going to get pushed here. You don't really want to go to B because you're going to get pushed in here. And it's okay to avoid these areas if it doesn't fit your loadout. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed. Just like in shotguns, if you're a shotgunner or a sidearmer, you don't want to just run down mid lane. You just don't want to hang out in alpha field. You don't want to hang out just around the entrance to tube because you can get sniped from these really long areas where someone can have a decent angle on you. It goes both ways, right? If you're a sidearmer, avoid the sniper lanes. If you're a sniper, avoid the shotgun chokes. That's it. It really is that simple. You don't have to overthink it. All you have to think about is, if I get shotgun, is this an okay spot if a shotgunner comes around the corner? And if it's not, you want to back up. If it is, stay there. You're good. Be more mindful with your play. Don't just play on autopilot. Again, here Zia just gets off the ground. If you stayed on the ground on that train car, you probably would have killed him because he was in the air, floating up, and he probably wasn't prepared for you. Or if instead you stayed on the ground the entire time, so go back a little bit further. If you just stayed on the ground the entire time, that person wouldn't even have a chance against you. So you jump here. So you see him here. As soon as you see the guy, you don't need to jump again. And you even triple jump, right? It's not just a quick hop into the air. It's a triple jump and then you're firing on your target. Just shoot your target. You don't need to do anything fancy like try to throw off their aim. It's the same thing that a lot of players say when they want to work on their strafe. If the purpose of your strafe is to throw off your opponent's aim, it's going to be ineffective because you put everything on your opponent. You don't help yourself succeed. The purpose of your strafe should be to make it easier for you to land your shots, not to make it harder for your opponent. That comes much later, much, much later. If you can't always hit every single shot, then your focus should always be, what can I do to make sure I hit every single shot? Same thing there. If your goal there was to jump off the ground and make your opponent avoid their shots, that's not going to work. Because if they hit their shots, then you're just a sitting duck, right? You had no cover there. You weren't pushing over anything. You were right in front of your opponent. Jumping in the air does nothing. Absolutely nothing in that situation. It probably makes it worse for you, honestly. Okay, so this is a really minor thing, and it looks small, but this is important because you have to change how you move around the map. You don't want to. This is another one of those instances where you're searching for targets with your face, and when you find a target, your face is going to get shot. Right? You're just getting shot in the face if you're looking around trying to find someone. Because you're in the open, you're exposed this entire time. You're not next to cover. You don't really know where you're looking, right? There's no blips on radar. You have a general idea of where someone might be, but you still don't know where they are. You don't have a definitive reading on your radar. You don't have a good idea of where someone's going to move. This like panicked ADSN kind of wander around. You're just waddling through the field. You're not. What you need to do is you need to slide to your pieces of cover and then wait if you want to search for a target. Patient play means that you need to be in a safe position. If you're not in a safe position and you're just waiting in the open, you're just waiting to be shot. What you want to do is you want to go from this open field to the tanker here, or you want to push up to the little fallen areas here, and you want to wait here, either crouched or standing up, and use that cover so you don't just eat a bullet in the face and then have to react to it. That's never what you want to do. Excuse me. So you don't want to wander, right? You want to choose your movements carefully, and you want to be deliberate about everything you do. Everything you do needs to have a purpose. It needs to be, I'm going to slide here because I want cover. I'm going to run through this field and slide here because I want more cover. And then every time you move, you need to have an idea of where you're going to look. It's okay to look in the wrong position, right? If I slide up to the tanker here and I look this direction, but my target is actually over here, and maybe they have a scout and they just happen to see me and they kill me, that's okay because I had a plan when I moved, and I chose the angle that I did. I just chose incorrectly, right? Someone wasn't here, they were actually here, I lost. That's fine. But I had a plan, and if someone was in that spot, if someone was here, open in the field, they would be dead because I'm prepared for them to be there. So when you're searching for targets, it becomes an educated guessing game where it becomes easier and easier the more readings you have on radar, right? The closer they are, the easier it is to pinpoint your target. Or the better you are at predicting how opponents move around the map, the easier it's going to be for you to get into engagements and win them more often because you're going to be firing first, because you're going to be looking where you expect them to be, and when they show up, you're ready for them. If you wander and you look here, and then you look here, and then maybe you look here, it's probably too late because someone's shooting you in the back. Like, be definitive. If someone isn't here, then cut off that angle. As soon as you don't see someone there, say, okay, I don't need to look there anymore. Where do I need to look next? Okay, I need to look here. So let's cut off that angle by going here on the right side of the fallen things. Cut off that angle and look in your new location. Okay, no one is in either of those spots. They're either going to be to my right or they're going to be behind me. So then adjust again. Come here, look behind you, or come here, look ahead of you. Always move with the next spot you're going to look in mind. Have a plan. You need a plan. You don't have a plan, again, it looks like that. It looks like you're wandering around the map, not knowing what's going on. You look like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. What's over here? What's over there? I don't know, because you're already dead. So have a plan. Alright. Kind of booped him with the grenade. And then the accidental teabag because you're trying to shade step. You eat incendiary. I think that engagement, while comical, was fine. Here, we just missed shots. You should have killed that guy. I wouldn't have hip-fired the shot that you had lined up on the head. You spawn up, you come over, you see him. Good shade step. Like, this is a good reactionary shade step. I actually like this shade step. I would have jumped immediately up into the air because now your opponent has a good bead on you. At least if you jump up in the air, you have a better chance to hit them a couple times in melee. But that hip fire there at the very end, if you had stayed ADS'd in, you probably could have hit him with the head. It was a pretty big target at that point, and you were on the head. And then just follow up melee'd, or just shot him in the body, and you would have won. Because you had time to shoot that extra shot that missed. Alright, disengagement here. When you see someone, this is where you have to be aware of your surroundings and in your engagement space. Because in this position, based on our opponent being here near Broken Wall and we're on slope stairs, if we stay on slope stairs, we have a head glitch to this person. I don't know if you know that or not, but that is a head glitch to that location. So this is an opportunity for you to actually just get a free kill because that person was at half health and never get sticked. Because this stick here is a lot harder to make, especially when you have Shade Step up, to this stick here, where you're basically in shotgun range. So be mindful of where you're engaging from, right? Be patient. It's okay to not run into someone. It doesn't make you a bad player. You know, you don't have to be hyper aggressive on someone if you're an aggressive player. You can aggressively push to an angle and punish anyone that happens to be in front of you. That's just as an aggressive play as running straight forward at someone, you know, spamming your sidearm. They take an equal amount of skill, no matter what someone tells you. So at this point, we've lost a lot of engagements. Almost all of the engagements we've gotten into the last couple minutes. And we've fallen pretty far behind the guy that was shotgunning us earlier. So here again, we're kind of wandering, right? We're not sliding in, we're not shotgunning, or we're not jumping, we're not waiting on an angle, we're just kind of wandering around. Now we have shotgun ammo, maybe we can do something. Like little note, if you want to be prepared when you have shotgun ammo, you want to load 2 shells. 2 shells. Because normally, if you shotgun someone and you immediately get into another engagement, that's going to be your last engagement because you're likely going to die from being weak. So you don't really need to have 3 shells ready because after that second one, if you're still alive, then you have time to come into cover and reload the next 2 shells or the rest of the mag normally. You want to reduce the amount of time you spend reloading because again, Key and Rumble, time between engagements. So the less time you spend reloading, the more time you can spend getting into an engagement. Here we have a decent smoke. Now we're reloading for whatever reason, even though we're technically in an engagement. I would say anytime someone is in this portion of your radar, the pie slice, you're in an engagement. So don't do anything that you wouldn't normally do in an engagement, even if you don't see them. Because you don't necessarily know the timing of the opposing player. You don't know when they're going to push around a corner. You don't know when they're going to show up. And you had a shell ready, so it was just, at that point, there's only one person in front of you. You really don't need to continually reload. Because if that person had popped around that corner at any point, let's say they were the person that used that tether, if they popped around that corner at any point, you would have been stuck still reloading, and you would have had a shotgun out in a primary engagement. So have the right weapon out for that space, or go and hide. If you really want to reload your gun all the way, which, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do, that's fine. Just make sure you do it safely. Not like standing in the middle of a lane where someone is very close on radar. Again, these pushes straight forward are very suspect. Like, you had a grenade up for this. You didn't really need to use a super there. You didn't really need to push straight forward. Like, your grenade just comes up at the end of this. You could have just waited on that grenade. Or just waited for a better primary shot. Wait for them to push out of their cover. So this is a good slide out. Nice switch to your primary. Trying to get your cover back. Gonna push back out. Again, you have a shotgun now, so this engagement space here is live, right? Have your shotgun out, get ready to shotgun this way. Don't have your primary out. You smoke them. This primary engagement is okay. I think knowing that this player plays with a shotgun, I would have just pushed out with my shotgun. Because if you almost gave him an opportunity to slide shotgun you, or even just slide like body shot melee you, if you have your shotgun out, especially after they're smoked, it's normally a free kill. So take that health advantage and just, you know, especially if you're shotgun ammo, and just finish them off. That I would consider, like the push out with a shotgun in this particular instance, I would consider a safe push. Because you have a health advantage and your target is disoriented with the smoke. There's only one, you know, they're going very slowly, so you have plenty of time to push into them. Here, you know, we just take a little bit too long to aim our shotgun, get stuck. I think that's a good stick on your opponent's part, more so than a mistake on your own part. I think if they didn't stick you there, they were dead to a follow-up shot or a melee. I like the movement here, very good, like, predictive, like, okay, he's not going to go this way because I have a grenade here. Shots are just a little slow. I mean, gun skill stuff is just something you work on personally. I don't think it's a huge deal. Good smoke, but again, wait. Don't push into your opponent, especially if you get the ticks and it looks like the ticks are going to the right. Just wait on your position, because you have a better position than your opponent here. You have health. You don't have health necessarily have health advantage anymore. I think you might have had it before he started firing on you. Oh, you're about even. So I think you take a headshot. Yeah, you take a headshot, he takes a body shot. So he has a little bit of health advantage on you, but you have a smoke on him. So you can make up the missed damage from your that headshot. And if you wait here, this is the position you want to be in. In fact, you can even be a little bit further back to have your gun being even lower. You want your gun to be closer to like here, this kind of area, because then you're going to have a head glitch over this opponent. Or at least more cover. If you stand where you are now, all of your body is going to be exposed. If you stand further down, about half your body is going to be exposed. That's going to give you, a better shot at killing this person. And you're going to know exactly where they're going to attack you from, right? This is head level. Oops. So you can be prepared for that and follow up with a headshot on the body shot that you hit and get that third body shot to finish them off. Likely you'll trade here just because you've taken a shot already, but maybe you win just because maybe they're not prepared for you or miss their initial shot based on your position. You don't want to push into them because he just got 2 shots off on you. So now that he picked up heavy, what you don't want to do is push into someone with heavy. So I like that you back off. Maybe it's just because you saw the special ammo. Maybe it's because you remembered you had heavy. I don't know. I hope you just remembered you had heavy. Otherwise, that's a really dumb push. And then this is the greatest play I've ever seen in my entire life. That's all I'm going to say about that. We're going to move on now. Yeah. The opponent just cleaning up with heavy right now. I mean, you shut him down with that grenade. That's a really nicely placed grenade. And you take away his heavy. So, 2 wins. Good wins in my book. Again, don't push into your opponent here. If you wait on this wall, I know that the game is about to end, but if you wait on the wall here, you have a lot of cover. Like, just look, half your body. If you stand here and your head is looking that way, you have a head glitch, or at the very least, like 3/4 of your body is covered. You are golden, and anyone that comes here is going to be hard-pressed to kill you. You don't need to push into players that you see. This might just be something that you just do naturally. And a lot of players, myself included, especially when I was running Last Word more often, you push into players because you have to, because with the Last Word especially, the best way to deal with Bloom is to push into players, to minimize the amount of effectiveness that Bloom has over you. Because if you make the target bigger, the fact that Bloom gets larger isn't as pronounced, right? So that's when you want to push in. Now you still run the risk of getting shotgunned. So if they're shotgunning you, you still want to backpedal and just let them, because they're going to push into you faster than you're going to backpedal. So again, that's how you deal with Bloom. But now that they've reduced initial accuracy, but they haven't increased the rate of fire or the rate of increase of Bloom, technically, well, I guess not technically, but I hypothesize that has actually made your shots more accurate over the same number of shots because the rate it increases hasn't changed. But the point that it starts at, it's really small. So even though the rate is still the same, the point where you get to 3 shots is different than when it used to be. So stick to your cover, right? Stick to your cover. You were going to get shot in the back, you would have lost that guy anyway. Alright. So, that's the review. A lot of, like, there's a couple times where, like, you should have got off the ground and attacked. And then there were a lot of times where you got off the ground for no reason and died. You want to be more conscious of the cover that you have around you. And you really want to focus on controlling the special boxes, right? Control the special on your map and things won't go so bad. Yeah, that's pretty much for my review. If you're watching on YouTube, do the usual, like it, subscribe it, do all that jazz. I appreciate it. If you want personal tutoring and you want to support the show, you can become a Patreon backer. There are lots of good rewards there. yeah, I always appreciate the support. It goes straight into the wedding fund, which is coming ever closer. It's very exciting, but also very nerve-wracking. Those of you who are married that are watching this probably know what I'm going through. I have no idea what I'm going through. I'll probably know later on in life, but you know how it is. But as usual, I've been your host, King Koala. This has been Crucible Boot Camp. You guys have been a great class. But for now, class is dismissed. See you guys next time.